Hello, everyone. We are here live, Paranormally Blonde, right here on the UNX network, the new mainstream. Dee Dee, look at you. That does not look like your normal background.
No, I might be someplace else.
You might be someplace. It's mystery spot. Everybody's got to try to guess where Dee Dee is.
Yeah, I might be going someplace pretty cool too.
Oh, God, so jealous because it's snowing here, and I know it's not where you are, so pretty jelly right now. Hi, everybody. We have so many people over here right now. We've got the Get Haunted Network. Rob is with us. Tanya, that is our guest's better half, is waiting over there as well. We have Deborah Roberts. We have Melissa. Hello, hello. Travis. Hello, Travis. Yeah, so here we are. It is Monday. It's snowing where I am. It is not at the mystery spot. We have a really cool guest coming up. But how cool was it getting to know Christina last week?
Yeah.
So cool, right? And she's got a lot of cool things coming up. I hope you guys went and followed her East Coast Paranormal and also her personal page. She's going to be doing some pretty cool things coming up here. And she shared, I believe it's June 11th. She's going to be doing some behind the scenes. And I think what I love the most about learning, well, she's just super cool. So there was that. But I think what I really dug was she's kind of in areas of paranormal that we just rarely talk about. Right. Yeah. And so like getting behind the scenes and like doing the videography and the going to these locations, it's cool. Like it's not just the front people. There are a lot of people that are behind the scenes doing cool things. So I really dug that. That was cool. She's so nice and so helpful. And, she's so kind to us. So we just want to keep extending the kindness to her. So if you didn't check it out, please go back and watch our interview with Christina from last week. It was pretty awesome. Plus her skunk, right? Like I keep watching. I think her skunk has.
I'm all over the skunk, and I've been stalking him on the internet.
Yeah. Did you see the skunk? Charger is the skunk's name. Did you see he loves bubble wrap? And so he was playing this big thing of bubble wrap. It was too cute. Totally. Too adorable. Very funny, Rob. She's okay. She's better than okay, I think. So do you want to do a random question?
Sure.
Shall we start? Maybe we'll be good enough that we can even get Bill to participate here in our random question. How was your week? Happy Easter, everyone. If that is what you participate in, happy Easter. And wherever your faith lands you, I hope it was a good, peaceful day, no matter what. I hope you got to eat a lot.
I had margaritas.
Oh, there you go. Hey,
I had a heathen holiday.
Oh, there you go. Could that be a clue? Anybody?
Oh, it could
be a clue to where Miss Dee Dee is. Here's our random question for the night. Who can you impersonate really well?
I used to do a good impersonation. There was a show. There was a girl. It was like a blonde girl who was really rich, and she moved in with a poor girl that was a brunette, and they were like waitresses. I can't think of the show. And there was a woman that was like a neighbor, and I used to do a really good impersonation of her, but I can't think of her name, and I can't do it right now.
You know what? I think, what is that?
Yeah, Two Broke Girls. That was it.
Two Broke Girls. That's right. That's funny. I think my sister is saying she could do a good impersonation of me. Is that true? I don't know. I think I'm doing impersonations of you. That's what I keep being told. You act like your sisters now. Oh. Melissa says her dad. Love that. I don't think I can, although I try for the Alexis thing on Schitt's Creek. Like I try to do her. That's so good for you. But I can't keep it going. It's too hard. So we'll have to see if Bill has any good impersonations. Rob, can you tell us if he has any good ones while we're here? Oh, yes. The Martian on Bugs Bunny, Melissa. I can see him and I don't even know. It's been so long. I don't even think I could. I'd have to really think about that one, but I did love him. Droopy. There you go. D-Hoo. I love Droopy wasn't that the dog who's always depressed? Was that Droopy? I'm not even.
I don't remember that one.
You don't? I can see him. I even think that was just on a Family Guy I just watched. I think they were making fun of somebody and her face was droopy and she did the droopy impersonation. It's pretty funny. So tonight's show, we're pretty excited. We've been really excited about this. And I was just saying today, I think Bill might now take first place on being our most coming back, reappearing guest This is his third visit with the blondes,
right.
and he's just got so much to share. And
Yeah.
we've been wanting, and this was actually requested. We want to learn about EMF. We want to get right down and dirty with EMF. We want to know exactly what we're talking about, because I think sometimes as investigators, right, we might just be like, well, you know, there's a break in the K2 meters are going up, but do we really get it? Do we understand how much we're really interacting with EMF, and what does that really mean to the paranormal? Tanya, that is hysterical. He is paranormally bald, and that's okay. We'll take it. We'll take him. He can be the bald. We're going to have paranormally everybody. It's all good. So let's bring on our guest for the third time, Mr. Bill Bryan of Empty Casket Paranormal.
Hey, Blondes, how are you?
Good. There he is. Hey, Bill. So do you have anybody that you can impersonate very well?
Yeah, I don't really do impersonations. It never comes out well.
No. Do you try? Is that?
I have in the past, and I've been asked to stop.
Oh, well, there you go. Oh, I love this idea, Tanya. Why you should do like just a little blonde strip maybe in your beard.
I got some gray in my beard. That's as close as it gets.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, that probably won't color though, right, Dee Dee? Gray, you can't really. Can you color over gray?
Over gray. It's just harder. Yeah,
it's just harder. There you go. Says our beauty expert right here. So we are discussing, we're going to get really nerdy, as Bill stated today, on EMF. And he's got a beautiful presentation for us to share as well. But before we get started with that, I know pretty much everybody off to the side here that's chatting with us, they know what you do. But why don't you tell those who are new, what is it you do for your day job?
For my day job, I am a electromagnetics engineer. I've been doing that for the last 13 years now. I've been working for different defense contractors as an electromagnetics engineer.
Okay. I mean, who better to sit and give us the EMF 101 than...
I mean, a K2 is just a really cheap version of some of the $100,000 pieces of equipment I use on a daily basis.
You might not be able to answer this. Do you ever sneak any of that out to your investigations?
No, as much as I would like to, no.
Yeah. Do they have to pat you down before you leave?
No, it's just too heavy. I don't want to carry it.
Huge. It's a huge piece of equipment.
Yeah. I do apologize for my bird. She has been quiet all day and has decided right now is a good time to scream.
She's got something to say. Well, I would assume EMF also affects animals as it does human beings.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. So when we talk about EMF, pretty much everybody in the field understands what it is, but I don't know if I think they really, I don't know if we could all say that we understand the real gravity or levity of what EMF is and how it affects us and our environment and really everything that has it, right?
Right. Yeah. What you see on TV, what most investigators understand about EMF is a very, very small percentage of what it is. Mm-hmm. It's actually the main reason that I'd love to take my equipment from work on an investigation is because, and I go through this in the presentation, but K2 is a very limited piece of equipment.
Right.
And really not all that accurate. I have taken a K2 to work and measured it against known sources.
Okay.
It's not accurate.
It's not accurate. That's interesting. Well, when we think about it, so the old fashioned one, and I believe Christina actually brought this up as well, because it's where my sisters and I started, was the one that you shove the quarter in to keep it pressed down so you can go around and do your baseline readings. When we use those, when electricians use them, right, you're just kind of going around your basic, like your light switches, maybe your outlets a little bit, right? And maybe you'd find a hit here and there. But when we really talk about it, I mean, we admit it. I mean, this is everywhere. EMF is everywhere.
Oh, we are completely bathed in it 24/7, especially nowadays. It gets worse every year. Everything is within the EMF, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, your 5G, all of it is EMF.
Yeah. Your Roombas, everything that you have for convenience is sucking the life force from you, right?
I don't know if I'd go that far, but yeah.
But it does affect, and we'll go through this on your presentation, but it does affect us. And I think my question, and I don't know if you're, because I did not go, I wanted your presentation to be a surprise for myself. So I did not, I did a quick like breeze through. I didn't want to read everything carefully, but when we are using K2s or anything like that to measure it or to see where we have some, when we feel we're interacting with paranormal and it interacts with a K2, right? And we're saying, oh my gosh, what are we exactly saying? Are we saying that it's broken the EMF field? Are we saying it's producing more EMF? I think this is where, when I watch investigators, I don't know if they really understand exactly what's happening in that moment.
Yeah. When a K2 goes off, the only thing that means is that it's in the presence of a magnetic field at a very low frequency.
Okay.
Huh.
That's all that means. Whether or not that's a ghost or somebody's cell phone is nearby or a walkie-talkie's going off, you know, you don't really know.
And do we really talk about, you know, how many people truly put their phones on airplane mode? Or I don't even know, does that actually help? Not enough. Right. Okay. So when we're doing investigations, it's kind of funny because people will be doing this like, look, I'm live right now. It's like, which means your phone's not in airplane mode, which means you are using Wi-Fi and or the network. So that could that
could
start giving you false results on EMF. Yeah.
I have a question. I got a reading when I was at the airfield. There was an airplane out in the middle of the field. And I was standing in front of the airplane. And when you would get close to the airplane, it would put off a reading and go to like red. And you go away from it, it would stop. And my husband was standing back at least probably 10 feet behind me. And the other people were to the side of the plane. So what could create that? Like
on an airplane?
A non-used, like an airplane that's not, you know, a graveyard airplane.
Oh, a graveyard. Yeah, if the plane's not on, there's not much that should. Ironically, what I work on daily is airplanes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, we make the different flight control and engine control computers for aircraft. But yeah, on an aircraft, if nothing is powered on, if there's no power to it whatsoever, there shouldn't be anything. Certain aircrafts have a standing magnet on it that it uses to help with navigation. It's not used in a lot of modern airplanes, but older ones sometimes will have that, and that can give you a false reading.
This was an older airplane. I think it was a 50s bomber, or you know, it was definitely old.
That might still have a magnet, a large enough magnet in it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and then is that, and that's a great question, Rob. So is it, though, even though you were at that part of the museum and airfield, is it active at all? I mean, are there any planes that are on there, or is it used at all, Dee Dee, that you can remember?
I don't believe they fly in the planes at the museum, but next to the airfield museum is the March Air Force Base. Which, you know, they do fly planes in and out. So, yeah, I mean, it's not close, but it's there.
Well, airports will have not only the communication, but radar. Radar will set off pretty much all of our equipment. If you're too close to an airport, none of your equipment's really useful. You're going to get a lot of false readings.
Huh. Oh, interesting. So if we do use a K2 and we have the colors that it shoots through, right? If we find something, or if we feel we found something, and you're saying this stuff isn't accurate, but you know how people will say like, oh, you know, it's red, it's the strongest. Like when we see those kind of readings, I mean, to your point, in today's world with everything being, you know, radio waves, microwave, like everything going through the air, I mean, couldn't things just be pulsing that we're capturing that are natural opposed to supernatural?
Oh yeah. Yeah. If there's a strong enough lightning storm within, the distance that it would have to be would depend on how much lightning you're getting, but yeah, that can set it off too.
Right. Which is just, it's an interesting thing because I think we hold so much stock in what a K2 says. we get all excited. And then
Mhm.
I have to wonder, when we get that kind of excitement built up, does that as well, do we emit anything differently? Or even if it's not changing the charge, does it somehow make it pulse or whatever that could also affect it?
So a human being generally, while it does, the human body does give off a magnetic field, an electric field even. It's not strong enough for any of our equipment to pick up. However, depending on the circumstances, you can build up enough of a static charge to possibly get a reading.
Yeah. I mean, and then what if
But
somebody's
that would be a hell of a static charge. One
Yeah.
that if you touch somebody next to you, you're going to hurt them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that'd be a nice little shock.
What if somebody had some sort of an ability? Like, what if they could focus? Does that play? I wonder if that plays any role in, like, bending spoons or?
Yeah, that's an area of physics that is still hotly debated,
Right.
and not one I'm well enough versed in that I want to comment on.
Fair enough. Dihu, she's saying, do ley lines have a magnet field?
I'm not sure. Ley lines is something that I've only recently started kind of researching. They're still debated within the scientific community, so I don't really know.
Right. And if you think, I mean, I don't know, you would think just environment in general, right? I know we like to put these really hot terms to things to make it sound, but I would just think it would just have to be a perfect storm in general. And it feels like, in my opinion, EMF is a big player in that perfect storm. I mean, that's just the universe, right? Like, that's just the world.
Well, so obviously the Earth has a magnetic field, and it's a fluctuating magnetic field, but our equipment won't pick that up.
Right.
That's considered a geomagnetic field, GMF, which is a completely different thing from EMF. EMF, which is electromagnetic field, is produced primarily from something that has an electric field that's moving. In fact, we should probably jump into my presentation because I have pictures to go with that explanation.
Awesome. Well, let's just do that then. So let's do the first, our amazing producer there. Look at how beautiful this little presentation is that Bill has put together for us. I love that. All right. So we'll move on to the next slide.
Right.
Perfect.
So what is EMF? So as I said, it's an electromagnetic field. It's an invisible energy source that is associated with electrical power. And there's a lot of different natural and man-made sources. And I have some pictures on that later on. But one thing to keep in mind is you can't have an electric field without a magnetic field. You can have a magnetic field without an electric field. But for the most part, our equipment only measures magnetic fields, primarily because it's easier.
Okay.
Electric fields require antennas, specifically sized antennas, depending on the frequency you're at, possibly amplifiers to bring it up high enough that you could actually measure it. Whereas magnetic fields really just require a coil of wire and you can detect it.
Okay.
But yeah, so anything that's electronic, anything electronic, if you have any kind of current running through it, what happens physically is you get a current running through a wire or a trace on a circuit board, and that moving bit of electricity, the electrons moving through it, will cause an electric field running parallel with the wire and a magnetic field perpendicular to it. And that's kind of shown in that picture there. You have the electric and magnetic fields being 90 degrees off from each other.
Okay. Interesting. And we said at the beginning of the show, you guys better pay close attention because we are probably going to put out a quiz for you. And, maybe whoever gets it all right, there's got to be some fun little something, because this is great information. And I think if we're going to use this as, an important piece of our investigating or research or study or exploration, whatever you're out there doing with it, right? I just feel like there's so much weight put on it, but I'm not going to lie. We're one slide in, and I kind of feel like I want to throw away my K2s. Like, I don't know. Are these even Is this
Yeah.
even a worthy piece of equipment to be using during investigations?
It is, but you just have to use it differently.
Oh.
And we'll get to that.
Oh, perfect. All right. Do you want to move on to the next slide?
Yep.
All right. Next slide, Grace. Thank you.
All right. So I really wish my bird would shut up. I swear she was quiet all day.
That's right.
So this is the electromagnetic spectrum. It goes from DC, which is 0 hertz, all the way up through, really, really high frequencies that are practically infinite. At your lower frequencies, that's where you're going to find things like your power lines, your TVs, your cell phones, anything like that. As you start moving up in frequency, you get infrared, then visible light, ultraviolet, and then into the really dangerous stuff, which is X-rays, and gamma radiation and things like that.
Okay, so you have a picture of the new light bulb. Is it specific to that light bulb or all light bulbs?
That's just visible light in general. Anything that you can see, any of that visible light falls within the electromagnetic spectrum.
Okay, because I was going to say, because think about who has those light bulbs now all over their homes, because that's all they sell anymore, right?
Everyone,
everyone.
Yeah, so incandescent bulbs and those halogen bulbs are not so bad.
Okay.
For when it comes to EMF, LED light bulbs, even though they're lower power, they're better light, and overall a better light bulb, they produce way more EMF than any other light bulb.
Oh,
see, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it is. Because don't people get like nervous and stuff because of EMF? And if our houses are full of all this stuff, no wonder everybody's a nervous wreck.
That's right. Oh, the bird's okay, right?
Yeah, no, I wasn't talking, so I hit mute.
Okay. Oh. I was gonna say that was like an all of a sudden quiet bird. I thought, yeah, it is interesting because when you think about it, I mean, I've tried to stay with the older light bulbs as long as I could, right? But as you can no longer, as it gets harder and harder to find them, right? These are throughout your entire home.
Yep.
That's interesting.
And I use mostly LED light bulbs in my house, but I know that if I could do any investigating at my house, I have to shut the lights off.
That's a good reason to turn the lights off then.
Exactly. Now, so it's no longer about ambiance. It's about cutting down your EMF. So good point. So these are things that I think we all need to keep in mind or need to be reminded, even if we knew it. Right. Are you ready to go to the next slide there, Bill?
Yeah, let's go to the next one.
Next slide. Perfect.
All right. So some sources of EMF, and I think most people can probably figure this out, but your cell phones, your computers, light bulbs, anything electronic, absolutely anything electronic. The big ones that are going to be affecting most of your investigations are going to be your cell phones, some other equipment you might have with you, nearby radio towers or television towers, radar, anything like that. Electrical storms coming through would be a natural source of it. Or if you're really close to high level power lines, like the really big power lines that go through. The closer you get to those, you're going to have more EMF.
Well, it's interesting because there's a location in Bethany, New York, the Rolling Hills Asylum, and in the one area, I believe it's the second floor, and it's like where it was like a covered porch where they would put TV patients, but right across, and they always say this is where they get the most activity. And of course, right across the 2-lane road is like a little power station.
Yeah, I'd be hesitant with anything that I captured that close to a power station.
Okay, good to know, because maybe some people's theory could that help also bring something forth? Like, is it something that spirits use to manifest?
It's entirely possible. Yeah, I mean that's one of the theories. Right. You could buy an electromagnetic pump, which just pumps electromagnetic energy into the atmosphere, and it's supposed to help heighten activity. Does it work?
We don't know.
I mean I've only used one a couple times, and when we used it, those were always really good nights. Yeah. But I've also had really good nights without it. So I don't know how much that actually played into it or not.
And it's almost hard to say how do you really determine, because we don't have that tangible thing to say, well, there's an actual ghost right there, can touch it, see it, feel it, smell it.
Right.
We don't have those comparisons. That's very interesting. Let's see here. Yeah, and I think, interesting enough too, what about all these electric cars that they want to start throwing all over the place? How is that going to affect us?
Yeah. I mean, cars put out EMF on their own, but electric cars are just so much worse. If you get too close to a road,
yeah,
your EMF meters are going to be completely useless.
And what else is going to be interesting is, and I'm sure this is in a lot of places, but I've seen in our newspapers the plan how they're going to have certain stretches of highway that underneath it, that part of the highway actually charges your car, which means that's got to be EMF, right?
Right.
Yep, that's actively radiating the EMF. Wow. It'll use a inductive type of wireless power transfer.
We're so screwed.
Yeah. I told you every year the amount of EMF that we're just surrounded with just gets worse.
And we're giving it to, between the iPads and the laptops and everything that we're sticking in front of our kids. I mean, it's just going to get out of control. Yep. And is that part of the reason why we feel we're having more and more paranormal experiences, perhaps?
It could be. Well, let's move on to the next slide and I'll talk about that.
Okay.
So some of the dangers of EMF. So at a mid-range level of EMF, power-wise, you're exciting your cells inside your body. Mm-hmm. And this could actually lead to an overall warming sensation, which is quite literally microwaving yourself.
Gross.
Back in World War II, when radar was really first kind of becoming prevalent, people, especially bases that were further north when it got really cold, the radar operators would go out and stand in front of the radar dish.
Wow.
Because they found that by standing there, it warmed them up. They didn't realize why they were warming up. They just knew that, hey, if we went and stood there, it was warm.
Yeah.
But they were literally microwaving themselves.
Oh, literally baking their insides.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Now much higher levels, you can actually get an EMF burn.
Okay.
Now this requires extremely high levels, not something you're going to come across naturally.
Okay.
And typically anything you're going to buy in a store has been tested and will not come anywhere near these levels.
Okay.
And thankfully, I've never experienced this, but I know some people who have while we're doing testing, and they described it as feeling like a red hot needle just got punctured into their skin. Like it was extremely painful.
Right where I went before you said anything we're working with, but could any older building, how people just all of a sudden feel like they get these scratches, could that be anywhere related? No, not at all.
No. If you get an EMF burn, it's going to be a very single point on your skin. Okay. It's not going to be a scratch.
Okay.
And older buildings, the amount of EMF you need to be exposed to get a burn is so extremely high. Realistically, you're never going to come across it.
Okay.
Good.
However, EMF can affect the brain, even at low, technically safe levels. If you get the EMF at the right frequency and at the right level, you can cause hallucinations, feelings of paranoia, overall weird feelings, possibly cancer. That's why people were so concerned with cell phones for the longest time.
Yeah.
But I've experienced. I've been in one of our labs while we were testing and had to be inside of our test chamber while the antenna was on. And I knew I was the only one in that chamber. It's a small chamber. I could look around and see that I'm the only one there, but I felt like I was not the only one there. It was such a weird, off-putting feeling. And it's the main reason that it's very, very important that when you investigate a place, especially a residential place, you have to check for EMF to see if you have high readings anywhere, because all of the residents' feelings of paranoia or feeling like being watched or even seeing things could just be high EMF.
Wow.
And I will validate that, because I did help out at a residential, and she was an older woman living by herself in I want to say her late 80s. And we were sitting on a giant L-shaped couch, and where she was sitting, I guess, is where she always sat. And as she was talking to me, she said, right now it's grabbing me by my legs, and she, and I'm sitting right there. And as I went over, she got up off the couch after about 35 minutes, and I went over there, and the EMF that was coming from the basement, I would assume, because I could go directly downstairs and have the same readings on even a simple, K2, it was always in the red. And it was interesting because she always chose to sit there. So I'm curious if that would be enough to make her, if you're having it happen constantly, right? You're like, oh my God, it's grabbing me. Well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just, and she was a tiny little thing and older. So I don't know, like, does your body chemistry, as it changes, does it change its reaction to EMF as well?
It will, absolutely will. And what frequency it takes to have that effect on you,
right,
will change throughout your life. It'll change from person to person.
Right.
It's never, and it really needs to be, pretty close to the exact frequency to cause it. Right. But it absolutely can cause it.
Right. Could it also, like, when you're saying here that it can cause actual hallucination, and Deb, I see your comment, right? Is that how you get like group hallucinations? But, when you go back to Mike Ricksecker's theory and shadow people and how it's your frequency, I mean, could it be, I don't know, I would assume that they must test all this stuff. I mean, I have not dug that deep into other people's explorations like that, but could that also be a part of what you think you're seeing? Is it really that you're seeing a shadow person, or is it for whatever reason there's enough EMF that's causing this hallucination?
It's a possibility for sure. Yeah. It could also be, other forms of gases. Like when I do a residential, not only the first walkthrough,
right?
Not only do I bring an EMF meter with me, I bring a combustible gas which measures natural gas and propane. I bring a carbon monoxide detector, a carbon dioxide detector, because these are all things that in the right quantities can cause hallucinations and odd feelings.
Yeah. See, that's just stuff we really need to keep in mind instead of jumping right to, and again, it's not even discounting that it could also be a conduit to paranormal, right? I mean, I think we don't know that, but I think that we should also explore I think that's amazing that you go to those lengths to make sure, like, what are we exactly dealing with?
That's good.
Well, being an engineer, like, I'm very science-based.
Right.
And so when I walk into a place and something happens, I'm going to do everything I can to try to debunk it.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, if you can do that for yourself, try to debunk all of your evidence.
Right.
Then anything that you have left that you can't explain is really solid evidence.
Right.
And that's the kind of evidence you want to share with people.
Right.
Yeah.
But how many people go to that length of making sure they have
not enough?
Right. I mean, right. Some of us are doing it for funsies, and and there's always the time and the place, right?
And
I mean,
and if you pay for, like, if you go on one of our Get Haunted events,
right,
you don't need to go through and do a walkthrough of EMF and the combustible gases and all that, because this is a place that has a history, that has people coming through. They're usually places that are being worked on.
Right.
There are some places they don't have power to begin with.
Right.
So if you're doing an event like that, you don't really have to worry about it so much. It's more about if you're doing a residential place or investigating someplace for the first time.
Right. Covering all your bases.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next one.
Right. So the God helmet. This is just a little tangent. So the God helmet, which was invented by Stanley Coren and Michael Persinger, it was an apparatus in which they purposely put magnetic fields into your head at specific points, at specific frequencies, to try to get, subtle stimulation of the temporal lobes.
Okay.
And the people started to kind of sense a presence.
Mm.
Yeah.
And they did it more so to try to recreate spiritual experiences. And not so much to show that they're not real. That was not their intent. Their intent was to just study them in general. So they had to produce them artificially. But this kind of got hold in the paranormal field and, went all over it. The top picture there is the actual original God helmet. And then the two bottom ones are commercial versions that you can go out and buy now.
And should anybody just be doing that?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Right.
It is something that I want to get and experiment with at some point. But but yeah, no, I don't think it's something that anyone should just go out and do without doing a lot of research ahead of time.
So, you're saying these are specifically, they're placed specifically, and you're given this, right, this shot of EMF. Could that dislodge any kind of DMT as to why you're having some of these experiences as well?
I don't know of any studies that have linked EMF and DMT. It's possible, I guess,
right.
but I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I know that the EMF can directly cause things. Now, the God helmet, the level of EMF is pretty low.
Right.
It's less than what you get out of like a landline telephone, a hair dryer.
Mm-hmm.
But it's at a specific frequency and pumped directly into the brain.
Okay.
And that's what, because they did do it in a very safe manner, as safe as they can possibly do it.
Right.
But whether or not those commercial versions are as safe, I don't know.
Yeah. And maybe the extended use that people might put them on for hours or something. Who knows?
Yeah, you definitely don't want to do that.
Right.
No, if you're going to try the God helmet, it's something that you put on for a couple minutes, and then you probably don't want to try it again for at least a month, if not longer.
Right. So Rob, take yours off. He said he has his on, and they are not on Amazon. And I would think, this is something you.
No, Tanya, don't check Wish.
Yeah, right. But it will come teeny tiny. It will fit a Barbie's head if you get it on Wish. So don't even bother. Okay, we'll move on to the next one.
All right. So EMF and ghost hunting, we kind of went over this for the most part already. Mm-hmm. Theoretically, ghost spirits, they are either made up of electromagnetic energy, or they can, interact with it, manipulate it. Mm-hmm. Which is true. I don't know. None of us know. No. They're only thoughts. Technically, it's not even a theory. It's a hypothesis. But that's a conversation for a different day.
All right. Actually, that would not be a theory yet. Yeah, and I guess the other thing is because there's so much EMF around us at all times. Again, I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of like the chicken or the egg first, right? Because is it that it attracts or helps or aids paranormal, or is it paranormal? I mean, I don't know. To me, I guess it would attract it because we know it's everywhere around us. Mm-hmm. So I guess really that would just possibly attract, and we're all energy, right? And if we're going by spirits leaving the body and then being out hanging out there in universe, I mean, I guess I'm still just trying to wrap my head around like how we're actually using these K2s. I did see that Rob said his were now going to be selling 40% off. I think you said, Rob, on Get Haunted.
Don't put them for sale yet, Rob. The next slide we'll get into the proper way.
Here we go.
I'm sorry. One more slide after this one, we'll get into the K2s and the best way to use them.
Okay.
So how the K2s and the EMF meters work in general. So you have, they all basically work the same way. You have a wound copper coil. Sometimes it's a separate antenna. Other times it's built right into the board, but it's just a wound copper coil to detect the presence of a AC magnetic field.
Okay.
All of the EMF meters only measure magnetic fields. Now, the tri-field claims to do electric fields as well, but we'll get into that one later. But for the most part, all of them measure magnetic fields only. Mm-hmm. And typically, they only work within a very narrow frequency band. The K2 specifically only works, well, I shouldn't say only works, but it was designed to work from about 60 hertz to about 150 hertz. Okay. Which is a very narrow frequency band. Huh. But yeah, so this coil, it detects the magnetic field, sends that signal through an amplifier and then to a LED controller, and that's what causes the different lights to light up. Huh. They all work pretty much the same. Okay. There's varying levels of complexity and numerous ways to build them. I have 3 that I've designed, none of which fully work yet, but I have 3 that I've designed over the last couple months that I've been tinkering with, trying to see which ones that works the best, and I'll be making those myself at some point.
Awesome. Okay. Anybody have any questions here? Everybody's like, quiet, take it in, folks, because there will be a quiz, and
Right?
I don't know.
Well, I think if I'm going to get another EMF meter, I'm going to get one from you because you're going to get one from somebody who fully understands it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think just to be taught how to use it correctly would
Right.
probably be key here. I mean, if you're going to use, which used to be $15, which is now like $65 for the little handheld dude, you know, I think just understanding how to use it correctly or as beneficially as you can, right? So
Right. So let's go to the next slide and we can talk about how to use it.
Okay.
So the K2 is a single axis magnetic field detector.
Okay.
And by single axis, it really only works in one direction. So if you're not getting a hit, turn it.
Okay.
Turn it one way or another, because you might not be lining up with the magnetic field is all it is.
Oh, okay.
As I said, it has a very limited frequency range in which it was designed to work. It does work outside of that range, but not as well.
Okay.
And that range is centered around AC power in the US. It was originally designed for electricians to find high EMF fields within a house to help determine where they need to work on wiring. So the K2 really is best used for communication and indication because the numbers on there, not accurate at all.
Okay.
Tested it, not accurate. Peel the sticker right off. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, by the way, Get Haunted will get you pretty stickers to put on your K2 if you'd like to rip that sticker right off. That's pointless. So.
Oh, no, I don't think they're stickers. I think Rob's actually lasering designs right onto the K2s.
That's right. He does do that, but I think there are stickers as well. Rob, let us know. I think I do see the engraving. You can do engraving and you can rip that pointless sticker right off.
Yeah. So the best way to use a K2 is purely for communication. Okay. Yes, no types of communication.
Okay.
You do a baseline sweep of the room, make sure nothing's in there that's going to be setting it off. Mm-hmm. Set it somewhere, start asking questions, and see if it goes off when you ask the question. And then try to get a verification, ask the same question again and say, I would just want to verify that this was you. Can you do it again? Mm-hmm. If it goes off again and it's timed right, you can pretty much assume that, that's probably paranormal and not some outside interference.
Okay. Unless somebody is using their cell phone, which I will not say who's done that, but I have seen people mess with people in groups by every time somebody asks a question, they either would send a text or whatever to make that go off. So you do have to understand who's around you and I don't know how you would force people to turn their phones off because many people will not.
Not just around you. You got to watch who else is anywhere in the building.
Okay.
I'll tell you a little story that happened to me and Tanya. We were investigating the Scranton Cultural Center, which is a Masonic temple, and we were in one of the lodges. We had equipment all over the place, and we were getting little hits here there. And then I forget what question was asked, but somebody asked a question, and every piece of equipment in the room went off. REM pods, K2s, all of it. Everything went off at once. And we got all excited, only to find out that on the other side of the door, one of the other people hosting the event was using the walkie-talkie.
Oh.
And when they pushed the button, everything went off.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
see, that's why I like to go alone.
Yeah, you got to know your surroundings, right? You got to know who's there, who's doing what. Everybody's got to have, eyes on everybody to make sure, like, what are we really dealing with here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's move on to the next slide. I don't want to miss any here. Okay.
Right. So the tri-field meter is better than the K2.
Okay.
It's also more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the tri-field meter not only detects the AC magnetic fields, it's also AC electric fields and RF or microwave radiation, which is same as the electric fields, just much higher frequency.
Mm-hmm.
They're all single axis, much like the K2. For the magnetic field, it works a lot, similar to the K2, except it has a much wider frequency range.
Okay.
And we don't know what frequency ghosts are operating at, so having that wider range is very beneficial.
Okay.
For the AC, for the AC electric field, it's not going to be all that accurate, only because the limitation in the size of the antenna that this box can hold. And for those low frequencies, especially what it's designed for, which is 40 hertz to 100 kilohertz, requires a fairly large antenna. Like the antennas that we use at work for those frequencies are bigger than my 60-inch television.
Okay.
So this will work. It's just not as it's not going to be as accurate. It's not going to be able to pick up as much.
Okay.
Now for the RF mode, which is about 20 megahertz up to 6 gigs and beyond, but 6 gig is where this stops working. That's not going to be accurate at all. The antennas that requires are very specific for the frequencies. When we're testing, we got to go through 5 or 6 different antennas throughout that range just to be able to capture things accurately. So I won't trust this for RF.
Okay.
The electric field a little bit, magnetic field definitely, but it's definitely more accurate than the K2s.
Okay.
I have not brought mine to work yet, only because I only just got it like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So I haven't had a chance to take it to work and test it out just to see how accurate it is. But,
right.
And one thing to keep in mind with both the K2 and especially the older tri-field, which has the actual hand on it, like the picture here, they're very sensitive to vibration.
Okay.
A K2 will go off just from moving it around.
Okay.
It's not actually detecting any magnetic field. It's just moving. It'll go off. So the K2 and the tri-field, you want to just place somewhere and step away from it.
Okay.
But this is going to be susceptible to the same kind of things as a K2, cell phones, walkie-talkies, etc.
And so when we're using EMF, and I know, Deborah, I see your question here, what would make the compass spin? So we've been bringing compasses with us instead of, using always a REM pod or a K2, but that's measuring something completely different, right? I mean, we're measuring geomagnetic and not.
No, an electromagnetic field will set off or make a compass move.
Okay.
But it requires a significantly higher level of magnetic field to make a compass move.
Okay. Interesting. Which makes
we actually do that test at work because we're working on airplanes. We have to make sure that what we produce is not going to affect the compass on the plane.
Okay.
So we do that test, and it requires a fairly large magnetic field to make a compass move. So if you're getting compass moving, pull a K2 out next to it, and if it's not spiking to red, you don't have something else around that's going to set it off.
Yeah, we had an interesting reading that I would say, Deborah, because it was something that I just had placed the compass on, which they're hard, right? Because you got to have light on it and you got to be looking at it the whole time, right? There's no beepy, noisy thing or light flashing on the compass. Maybe that's something, Bill, you can do. Maybe you could have something where
I'm thinking of that now. I got some ideas.
Awesome. Good. Get on that so we can set the compass somewhere and go, oh, we need to go over there and look at it. But we did get it, and it was spinning. It wasn't like a little jump. It was spinning, and it hadn't been spinning. And then I believe she hit it up with one of the little EMF little sticks that we had, and I believe she got a reading on that as well. If I think I remember that correctly. And I don't think I've used, I don't know if I think people have used tri-field where I've been. I'm not going to lie. I fell for the K2 allure. It's just easier.
Oh, K2s are cheaper. They're easy. And as long as you use them just for like doing it, you could do an initial sweep with them.
Right.
And you can use them for communication. You just got to, ask for that verification. Maybe have more than one out.
Okay.
You can use them. There's no reason you shouldn't use them. I use them.
Right.
You just can't always use them the way they use them on TV.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. All right. We're down to our 10, 11 minutes here. So I want to get through his.
This is my last slide.
Oh, awesome.
So, and this is just to talk about the millimeter. Again, it's a single axis AC magnetic field measurement, but this also has the temperature reading. I haven't tested this myself. I do own one, but I haven't tested it. I've heard from other people who have tested it that it's not very accurate. I can't say for certain whether or not it is or not. I do intend to take this to work at some point and measure it against a known source and see how well it does. But again, same with the tri-field and the K2. It's good for indication and communication and doing an initial sweep, and having the temperature sensors on there is really nice. And then one of the things that's nice about the Melmeter is it has a burst mode, which will allow it to react way quicker than the K2. There's a little bit of a delay from when it sees something to when it will indicate to you. And if it comes and goes too quickly, it won't even notice it. Well,
Okay.
the millimeter in the burst mode will do that.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. See, and I have a millimeter, and I don't like it.
Yeah, I have one. I hardly ever use it, to be honest.
Yeah. It's a little bigger. I guess I kind of, it's one of those things where if we're setting up a hallway, I'll just throw the millimeter down and check it out. But I'm almost positive, I feel like I wasn't sent that little nifty little antenna right there.
Yeah, so that's a thermocouple.
Yeah.
It's for the temperature.
Right. I never got that.
Huh.
Yeah, you could pick those up. They sell them separately because they break. I've broken 2 of them already.
Well, then maybe that's something we can find on a website somewhere easily somewhere.
Yeah. I don't remember what website. I know Ghost Stop has it.
Okay.
There's a couple other websites I've seen them, but I can't remember them off the top of my head.
Yeah, I need that antenna. That's the piece that I was gypped when I ordered mine. So that is an excellent, I hope everybody, it's a lot to take in. I think this is going to be one of those things that you guys will have to go back. I will go back and look at each of your slides here, because
Me too.
I think that, again, sometimes it's like you take that stuff for granted, right? Like you're going through your investigations and you're so used to stuff. You take things off of TV that you've seen or other investigators, and you just kind of forget the actual inner workings of this. And I think that it's a really good idea, if this is something that you truly have a passion for and you want to understand what you're capturing in that moment, but also what's around you. I say this often, there's things that we say as investigators that are these giant claims, but yet we don't really even understand our own bodies, right? So it's like, how do we now know so much about the dead, but we know so little about our surroundings? And I think, although I realize there's a lot of EMF floating around everywhere, I think when you see the pictures of what is admitting that, and things to come and things that they're working on, it's almost freaky.
It's terrible.
Oh, yeah.
That's why people are hallucinating.
Yeah, and just for my own job, my job gets harder every year because we have more things we need to protect against.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is something you do for a job. You put yourself in these situations to understand the interactions. So I have to ask, is there a way to cleanse ourselves from this EMF that we're taking in, besides, moving to the one, is it West Virginia, where there's absolutely no electronics? There's you can't even have phones.
There's a radio telescope observatory in West Virginia, and 50 miles around it you can't have anything that emits any kind of EMF.
Huh.
Yeah.
I applied to work there. I didn't get hired.
Yeah, because this is and just so you know, this town, so people who have illnesses that cannot be diagnosed and they have chronic pain or ringing of the ears, this is where they move because they want to take away all that stuff. They just living an all natural life because it's too much for their body chemistry. So,
well, you can do this at home.
Okay.
It's not too hard. You can build a Faraday cage at home that will block most of it.
Okay.
And it's really simple. You can go to the hardware store, get a couple 2x4s, build a box big enough for you to go into, surround it with chicken wire. The smaller the holes in it, the better. Make sure all the metal's touching each other, and then put a grounding rod into the ground and ground the chicken wire. And when you go inside, your cell phone will stop working.
Interesting.
Yeah, you will lose service on your cell phone. You bring a radio inside of it. You got to make sure the door closes and you get good connection between the door and the walls. But yeah, you can make yourself a nice little Faraday cage.
Doesn't sound easy. Maybe you can make some plans and you can put. It's
a lot easier than the $1 million shield rooms that we have at work.
So what is your feeling on the EMF, the paint that people use in their home? They'll paint their walls with this special paint. Is that a doable thing?
Oh yeah. Okay. I have some. It works to an extent. My coffin pods, I paint the inside of them with that paint. Okay. When I build a guitar, I put that paint on the inside of the electronics cavity. Okay. It does stop enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we're talking about stopping. We're not really discussing, is there an EMF cleansing though?
Nope.
No. So once you've been hit with it, you're hit with it.
Yeah. So you can stop it. Yeah. From hit, because if you put something up that blocks it, it'll just stop it.
Yeah.
Some things will degrade it. It won't stop it, but you can lessen the power of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's either there or it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And if it does any damage to your body or whatever, you just got to wait for yourself to heal.
Yeah.
Wow. Maybe this is why we crave nature so much.
Mm-hmm.
Because we want to get away from all this unnatural.
Yeah, like forest breathing and
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you almost have to understand just how much, and I mean, we just keep doing it. Like I said, I mean, get a Roomba, I mean, everything in your home pretty much, and who doesn't have a cell phone next to their bed charging? I mean, I do, because I want to, if my kids need me, right, you want to make sure that you've got some form.
Ironically, I have my cell phone next to my bed at night playing nature sounds so I can sleep better.
There you go. Look at that. See, totally counterintuitive, but hey, Bill, like, honestly, I hope you get more questions. I know I'm going to come up with more. I am going back. Travis, I'm with you. I am going to replay this because I want to look back at your slides.
Yeah.
Seriously, you guys, go through this. I think this is really, I mean, this needs to be the first thing that we all probably really get a good understanding about as we go into these investigations, because again, it is one of those things where you have to realize who's got a walkie-talkie. And I never even think about the walkie-talkie aspect of it. I'm just always thinking, who's got their phone on?
It's worse than the cell phone, really, because it'll work from a much farther distance. Right.
These are things we just don't think about.
Yeah.
So, Bill,
I learned something so much. Yeah.
Learned a ton. And I think we are going to totally come up with a quiz. I think there's some good.
I have a question already.
Do you want to ask it? Or you're for the quiz?
No, for the quiz. Yeah.
There you go. Maybe we'll work with Bill. We'll each put some questions on there and we'll throw out a quiz and we'll make a little fun, whoever gets it right, maybe we'll throw some sort of a fun t-shirt sticker situation. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll get my Haunted Network on that. Get some t-shirts made. Bill, thank you so much for your time and your intelligence and your talent and your work knowledge. Like this was asked specifically, like I want Bill to talk about what he does. And it is a very interesting aspect of paranormal in our daily life. I don't think it's something we think enough of. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much for your time, Bill. Please go check out his Empty Casket Paranormal. He's got lots of cool things. And then he also does a lot with Get Haunted Network. And what do you guys have coming up for an event? I think this weekend, do you not?
We don't have one this weekend. We have one on May 7th, which is Cashtown Inn. That's our next one.
Cashtown, that's Gettysburg, folks. So go check out Get Haunted to see what that is. Hopefully the blondes will be out there.
I think there's 1 or 2 rooms left.
Oh, 1 or 2, some, but yeah, the bird did get awfully quiet. I did see somebody ask a question, do birds sense spirits? I would assume yes, because
possibly.
Yeah, animals do. Thank you so much. Go check out Empty Casket Paranormal. Folks, next week, we have the wonderful Michelle from First City Paranormal of Kansas. We're going to discuss ghost noises and all the different ghost noises and what they could be or what they could mean. So please join us next week for our live then. Dee Dee, thank you so much for taking time out of your little getaway. Somebody's going to have to guess where you are. And thanks to Race, who did an amazing job with the slides. They were amazing. And he was pop. He was just on top of it. And we got to learn so much tonight. Thank you so much. Guys, every Monday, 7 p.m., you can catch us right here on the OnX Network, the new mainstream. Thanks so much.
Bye.